I know. I understand that Etsy ads can be super scary because you're investing money into your listings without fully knowing what the outcome will be. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about Etsy ads. Some people call it gambling. Some people say that you don't need them at all. Some people say that it's wasting money. There's a lot of different ideas around Etsy ads, and everyone is subject to their own opinion for sure. Like, everyone is allowed to have their own ideas around Etsy ads for sure. My personal approach to Etsy ads, and actually probably one of the core factors that I attribute to, seeing really, great success with my brands, is attributed to playing the game of Etsy and doing the game of Etsy in the way that Etsy wants. So when you're selling on a third-party platform like Etsy, Amazon, eBay, right, you're subject to their algorithm. And in that algorithm, there is a cryptic set of rules, and you have to think in terms of what does the platform want, right? Etsy, Amazon, eBay, Faire, Wayfair, Walmart, wherever you're selling your goods, has a algorithm with a rules to their game. Right? And the thing that makes the game not that much fun is when the people at the top don't even know their own rules. And unfortunately, when you're selling third party in the e-commerce space, that's the case sometimes, Etsy included. And so that's why there's not a step 1, step 2, step 3 process to getting all of your products to the best seller status. But we have to take the information that we do know about these platforms, right? You have to think in terms of what does the platform want? And one of those things is not only do they want you to have the best listings generating the most money, because every time you make money, they are making money off of your money. So they want you to have super competitive listings with really good repeat customer rate, high average order value, click-through rates, right? All of the things, right? They want to give a good customer experience to their buyers. But also you have to think in the long term, what other factors would Etsy be judging you on? When a platform allows you to give them money in exchange for exposure, they're going to judge you on who's spending the most. It's just the truth. Even though Etsy won't come out and say it, it's most likely a factor when they're considering where you're going to get placed. So if two people have active listings and they both have equal conversion rates, equal CTRs, equal value proposition of product, beautiful images, video, descriptions, value for price point, right? But this guy has their ad budget set to $1,000 a day, and this guy has no ad budget. Who do you think in the long term Etsy is going to favor? Probably the guy that has their hand up that says, I'm actually willing to invest in the platform. And unfortunate as that is, it's just the truth. It's capitalism. So when it comes to Etsy ads, I always say that it's not about just setting your ads to the max and hoping for the best. That's not the game that we're playing by any means. The game we're playing is how do we optimize our ads to get it to the max budget allowance, but with profitability, which means a couple of things. It means that you must have built a business model that makes sense with a marketing cost percentage included in your sale price. So after your Etsy selling fees, your payment processing fees, your product costs, your shipping costs, your packaging costs, is there money left over to go to a huge business expense that is marketing? And so when I think of Etsy ads, I don't think of it as gambling. I don't think of it as wasting money if it doesn't work out. I definitely don't think you should come into the game never running Etsy ads. That's just short-sighted for business in general. But my approach is a little bit, I guess you could say, more aggressive than most, I guess, for the Etsy community. Maybe I come off a little strong about this. I don't know. But I don't look at it as any of those things. I look at it as an investment in your business, right? Even though Etsy is a very low barrier of entry business to open, meaning you don't technically need a lot of capital depending on what you're doing, what machinery you need, maybe some employees that you need, right? Even though you don't need a lot of upfront capital, especially if you're doing everything yourself in the beginning, it doesn't mean that you're never going to need capital or it doesn't mean that you're not going to reinvest the money that you make back in your business. And I think this is something that a lot of people really get wrong. They forget that it's a business. Every penny that I made when I first started my business just went back into my business, right? Like I lived on my grandma's couch. I didn't take $1 out of the business until we were consistently seeing $1,000 days. Every single day. Like I was putting it back into ads. I was putting it back into better packaging, better raw materials, better products, right? Everything was just going back into itself. And so I think that maybe that approach scares people right away because they want to make money right away, which is understandable, but it's a very short play for business. If you want to be in this for the long play, if you want to have a successful business 5 years from now, better to bite the bullet, invest, do the dirty work, get your business running really, really dialed in up front, right? So then you're really set up for the best case scenario for the future. And that's what I talk about on this channel. I don't like to sugarcoat things. I'm talking about how do you set yourself up for the best case scenario. Not I'm going to play it frugal and just dip my toes in the sand. That's not how I put out videos if you've ever seen my videos. I'm trying to give you the best case scenario for the future. Now, with all that being said, let's get back into Etsy ads. So Etsy ads. Etsy on some level probably judges you for how much you're willing to spend. Etsy ads also contributes to the organic growth of your store as well, which is a huge thing that I think people forget. People look at how much it spent versus how much the ad generated you and just quit. You have to look at your business from a way bigger view, right? Because again, ads contribute to the organic growth of your listing as well. E-commerce is like a snowball effect. It's slow and painful in the beginning, but as you get customers and repeat customers and you start learning about your customers, right? Then you improve your products, you take all that data and that feedback and you put that into building a better business, right? And then you get more orders from those orders. And then your SEO starts getting indexed better and you start getting reviews, right? So this snowball wheel tends to happen if you're doing all the right optimization things. And so when you start running ads, it helps you pick up the momentum a lot faster, even if you're not profitable right away. And in my opinion, that's okay. Now we're gonna get into the more nitty-gritty questions about how much you should spend, when you should turn them off, all of that type of stuff. But right now we're just laying the foundation, okay? So when you put on ads, Etsy is gonna like your store a lot more. Obviously you need to have competitive listings and photos and stuff like that. A big indicator that your listings are not good is if you're not getting any clicks on your ads, right? Because it's called PPC, which means pay per click. So you only actually pay for the ad if someone clicks on it, or if someone purchases, if you're running offsite ads. So if you're not getting clicks or it's not spending, it's either because your budget is set too low and you need to set it a little bit higher, or it's because nobody's clicking on your listing, which means you're not being competitive in the search pages. And one of the biggest indicators that your listings are not competitive is that you have your budget to $20, $30, $40 a day and it's spending 30 cents. That means we're missing something completely. Now, the only exception to that is if, your listing is a few weeks old and maybe it just needs more time. But if you're testing out dozens of items, right, and you're not getting any clicks, just in general, not even with ads, just in general, if you're not getting clicks, it's probably a mismatch of perceived value versus your price point, or just altogether the listing is not competitive enough, like your images are not working out or something like that. Safe strategy for running Etsy ads, if you want to play it the safest way ever, is to only turn on Etsy ads for listings that organically take off first, right? And this is very, very common if you're selling in a low margin space like print on demand or really low ticket digital downloads, right? Like a safe play for you guys is just only turn on the ads for the listings that organically get sales first. But even with that said, I was in a very, very competitive niche, probably the most competitive niche. And what we saw is that, with ad money behind some of our listings, all of a sudden they would shoot off and start acting different, right? And so if you want to play the safe route, that's okay. I personally run ads on everything. I split test everything. And, listings that would, never sell would all of a sudden start selling. But again, that is just my personal experience. It's up to you of what you personally want to do. But again, the safe play is just turning on ads for listings that organically take off first. By the way, guys, I know I'm rambling a lot, but we are going to hop into my computer and I'll show you my ad strategy after this, but just trying to cover all the basics here. Another big question is budget. So how much should my daily budget spend? Guys, this is up to you. Something is better than nothing. The lower you go, the less amount of clicks you're gonna have. So if you're only putting $1 a day, you're only allowing yourself to get maybe 1 to 3 clicks on that listing, which you need hundreds of clicks to collect enough data on a listing to see what's going on. I would say you need dozens to hundreds of clicks, right? You need 1,000 to thousands of impressions on that listing before you can make a decision about whether the listing is going to be a good listing or not to keep ads on for, right? So the lower you go, the slower it's gonna be for you to collect the data that you need to figure out if you're gonna keep the listing on with ads or turn it off. So there's no wrong answer. It's just really what you're comfortable with. When I first launched, I personally turned on my ads for all of my listings, and I started out at $15 a day. You know, I think at the time I probably had 50 to 60 listings. That's still not a lot of budget for 50 to 60 listings. Now, depending on how competitive your listings are and how it hits the algorithm, some listings are gonna start taking off where others will not get clicks at all. And that's okay, that's normal. X's algorithm is gonna start picking out the ones that they personally like and aggregating those to the top. And it's no surprise that when you look at your top performers in Etsy ads, those usually tend to be your top products in your stats as well. And those are the products that you want to pay attention to, because that algorithm is telling you something there, saying, hey, make me more products like this, do more photography like that, offer this type of value for your future renditions of products. So like I said, when it comes to budget, it's up to you. Something is better than nothing. When it comes to deciding what products you should run, again, there's no wrong answer. Safe play, only put it on products that take off organically. More aggressive play, more aggressive approach, run it on everything, because you never know what's going to take off differently when there's ad money behind it. Before we hop into my computer and I show actual strategy on a computer screen, I just want you to keep in mind that every business has different needs, wants, fears, and goals. So my strategy might be slightly different from your strategy, and you'll see what I'm talking about when we actually go into the products, right? I sell at a really high price point, so I tend to have a really high threshold for the amount of money I'm going to invest in a listing before I turn it off. If you're selling low ticket items or low margin items, right, you might be somebody that's way more aggressive with your spend, but it will all make sense when we hop into my computer. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you want to give back to all of my free trainings in any way possible, just subscribe to the channel. That means so much to me. All right, let's get back into the video. Before we hop into my Etsy dashboard, I just want to share this tool that my team and I have been building over the last 1.5 years that is called ProfitTree. So ProfitTree is the first time real Etsy profit tracking solution. And basically what it does is it will give you back your profit in real time. So you can come up here and see every single day what your actual profit is. Today, this after cost of goods sold and fees and shipping costs and ad costs, this shop is about $100 in profit for today so far, right? And then we can come up here and look at different time periods. So if we come on here and go to the current year, we can see that after all these operating expenses, all the product costs, right, the profit is about $32,000 for the year, right? And inside of these buckets, we can see the breakdown of what being calculated. Now, all of these stats come directly from your Etsy account ledger. We're just simply sorting into its bucket. So this is never going to perfectly match what you see in Etsy, because Etsy puts things into weird buckets. They also display things very cryptic. So, right, like in Etsy, you could go look at revenue here versus revenue in your listings versus revenue in your stats, and it's being calculated in 3 completely different ways. And it can be super confusing, especially when it comes to analyzing your ads. So that's why we're trying to make it as simple as possible. And also, once you sync with us and integrate your Etsy account with ProfitTree and then add your product costs on all the products that you have listed, right, you're going to get more detailed information on your actual profit after your actual costs. And we're having a lot of new features come out outside of just tracking product costs, but also more more in-depth analytics on your advertisements, adding custom expenses if you want to track offline expenses. We also integrate with Printify and Printful, so you can click here and integrate your account so you can automatically track those costs as well. But the moral of the story is we are very new and we have so many features coming out, so make sure you check out our link in the description so you can get on the wait list that has very limited spots, because we are going to be very much still testing out and, you know, just seeing all of your guys' needs, wants, fears, and goals for what you want for future features. But anyway, one cool important bucket that's being shown on the dashboard here is this advertising bucket. So this account in this year has spent about $11,000. It's also calculating two really key metrics here, that is ROAS and break-even ROAS, which are two metrics that I talk about all the time on my channel. And now we're actually going to calculate it automatically for you. So this ROAS bucket, if I click on it, it's showing me the ROAS so far for the year compared to the previous year. So you can see in 2023, we're already beating the ROAS compared to 2023. So this green line is resembling 2024, just slightly, but we do want to continue to improve the ROAS. So this means that if I give Etsy $1, every $1 I spend in ads, I'm getting 7.38 back. And holistically in my Etsy account, my break-even ROAS for this product sample, the amount of products that we have, is about 1.92. So that means at 1.92, I would be break even with ads for my entire shop. So the dashboard is showing you a collective holistic view of ROAS and break even ROAS for your whole shop. So this 7.38 is what I spent compared to top line sales, not what I spent compared to what the ads generated me. And that's really key, because a lot of people come into Etsy ads and they look at spend and they compare it to what the ad generated you, and then they get mad and they turn it off. But ads do a lot of valuable things for your store. It contributes to the organic SEO of your listings as well. So it's important that you're always, you can look at this for a first step, but you really want to analyze what the ad spent compared to, if I come into a listing here, right? You really want to compare it to net sales. So this would be your top line sales on Etsy, inclusive of organic and paid sales, right? So we want to compare those two things, right? Comparing spend to what the ad made you, because this revenue bucket here on ads, again, another place that revenue is being calculated differently from your other places in your Etsy account. This is actually only showing you the revenue that the ad made you. Plus, if say someone clicked on this listing and they purchased from a different listing, they're attributing that revenue as well to this column here. So it's not really giving you clear insight on what is happening with the actual listing on the ad level, right? So what we want to see is spend for the same time period as compared to top line sales, right? So actually this is a good example. So this year we spent $1,300 in spend on this listing, and then ProfitTree can show us that our top line sales was actually $4,400. And actually recording this video, it made me realize of a feature that we could add here as well. What we do show you is your calculated break-even ROAS for the listing. So we know on the ad level, our break-even ROAS is 1.69. So when I come over to Etsy ads, right, we know that if this is less than 1.69, then on the ad level, we're actually losing money. And that is what's my initial attention to investigate further in a listing, is if the ROAS column is below the break-even ROAS. Now remember, break-even ROAS on your dashboard, right here, it's calculating your holistic shop break-even ROAS. The way that you calculate break-even ROAS is 1 divided by your net profit percentage before marketing. And so this is giving you a historical break-even ROAS for all of the sales that you've had. And historically, you would want to see your break-even ROAS decrease over time, as you would hopefully be getting your costs down and maybe increasing your sale prices over time, right? We wouldn't really want to see an increase in ROAS, but sometimes it happens because costs go up, shipping goes up, stuff goes up, right? But this 5% is not too bad. But also we had an increase in ROAS as well. So that is actually a positive thing. So historically, you want to see your ROAS increase over time, and you would want your break-even ROAS to stay about the same, or better yet, decrease over time. And we also would not want our break-even ROAS to equal of that to our ROAS. That is a really bad sign. That means that your whole shop is breaking even after marketing, right? So 7.38 means that we're very profitable. Obviously, we're profitable with this store, but if I could get this to 8 or 9, that means that I'm optimizing my ads properly and it's becoming cheaper for me to acquire customers. So this is on a store level. In the listing reports, this is on a listing level. So this is showing me the calculated break-even ROAS on the actual listing. So this is a really accurate break-even ROAS that you should follow as a KPI when it comes to analyzing your ads. So now that we have that foundation set, if I didn't lose you, how are we going to start analyzing our ads? So what I like to do is go through a good data sample of time. So we have it for this year. So that's about 3 months and some change into the year. So now what I want to do is first I'm going to sort it by spend because I'm curious about, obviously the listings that are spending my money the most for the year, right? And I want to start seeing, okay, which ones are below my break-even ROAS for the listing. So now that it's sorted by the top spend, right? So the ROAS here is 2.95. Like we said, in ProfitTree, it's telling us that the break-even for the listing is 1.69. So we know that we're making money. So I don't really need to investigate anything further because we're obviously profitable on this listing. Now let's find one that looks a little bit lower. So this one, it says 1.87. Let's check and see what the break-even is for that one. So that's this listing here. This one is 1.9. So we can see that we're pretty much breaking even on the ad level. So let's compare what it's spent compared to top line. Remember, this revenue bucket's not really telling us anything about our listing. Now, without ProfitTree, if you wanted to go actually find this listing, you're gonna have to go to your stats and you can try to sort through your products in your stats. But if you've ever ventured into your stats page, like I'll just show you an example here, it's really annoying because there's no way for you to filter through your products. Like they only show you 5 products at a time. So the only way to find your products is by basically coming through each page and like trying to find it and then putting the time date, as the same. So it's really hard to find your products. So it's a lot easier just to use ProfitTree to compare back and forth, which again, this one will make this a lot easier when we can actually show in ProfitTree. Like eventually we'll just show you your ad spend on the listing level. So you don't even have to switch back and forth to each page. But anyway, so this one for this year spent for 452. And what we want to see again is that net sales. So our net sales for this item is right here, which is 1729. So this is really important, right? Remember, net sales is your total revenue after your shipping fees collected and subtracting out your discounts and your refunds. So what we want to do is we actually want to recalculate that ROAS. So just because it looks like we're breaking even here, actually losing money because our break even was 2.9, when you compare it to actually top line sales, it makes you feel a little bit better. So when you take the net sales, which is 1729 divided by the spend, which is 452, right? Our ROAS actually becomes 3.82 compared to top line, right? So we're actually making money with this listing and it's actually not that bad. And so for me, I personally would leave this on, but it depends on what you're selling and how strict you want to be with your shop. So this is where I said it's not one size fits all. Like maybe you don't ever allow any of your listings to not at least break even on the ad level, right? Because maybe you sell super low ticket items and you have thousands of items or something like that. And when you put your budget to $1,000 a day, it actually spends $1,000 a day. So you can see that in the last 30 days, right? My budget is set to $1,000 a day, but it only spent $3,000, right? So it's only spending about $100 a day. But for you, if you're selling super low ticket items and you set your budget to $1,000 a day, it might actually spend $1,000 a day. So you might have to have way stricter parameters, right? Also for this brand, the average order value is about $100. So if your average order value is under $10, right, then maybe you need to be way more strict than say me because you have way stricter threshold because of your sale prices. But for me, because my ad budget not even spending the $1,000 a day or getting close to it, I'm okay with letting money go to, 1.87 because it's not like there's a shortage of budget by any means. It's just I need to expand my product line to expand searchability since we're basically selling the same product over and over again in the store, right? So to fix that, I need to sell different types of items to attract different types of keywords to get new clicks. So again, right, different people are going to have different thresholds. Now let's try to find a listing that isn't doing so hot, but has spent a good amount of budget. The ROAS here is 1.91, and we still have the correct time period selected. So this spent in this year so far $62, and the top line revenue was $228. So if we do 228 divided by, what did we say, $62, right? That's actually a 3.6 ROAS compared to top line sales. So the operating profit was $100 minus 60. So this listing did make a little bit of money. So again, you can see how this happens. Like sometimes your ROAS will literally say 0, but then when you compare it to organic sales, right, you're actually hitting like 5x ROAS. In that case, you don't want to just turn off the listing because again, getting those clicks with ad money, even though they don't manifest into purchases, getting clicks and add to cart, it contributes to the organic SEO of your listing as well. And I will argue till the death of me on that point, right? So in this case, we're not breaking even on the ad level, but when you compare it to top line sales, well, we made not a bunch of profit, but we made profit. So I'm okay with making a little bit of money to get more reviews, to maybe get a repeat buyer, to get that click, to get more social proof. So in this case, I would actually leave it on. But again, if say you're selling, a low ticket item and you are spending a high amount of threshold, maybe that's not good enough for you. I just had a call with somebody that was selling, items that were $1 to $20. A lot of her items were like $1 to $3, right? And so for her ROAS always looks bad because you're selling really low ticket items. In that case, you have to be much more strict. And, in my case, I'm willing to invest, $50, $60, $70 in my listing to figure out what's working and what's not working. For her, she might only be willing to invest, $15 to $20 in a listing before she makes a decision on turning something on or off, which time is another huge variable that we haven't even talked about yet as well. So now let's go over one that is not doing so hot, and we're going to talk about this time variable that also plays a big role here. So here's a listing that had 0 ROAS and it spent $37. So it's getting into an uncomfortable amount of spending now, right? So again, uncomfortable for me might be $40, $50, $60, maybe $70, depending on what your price point is. For you, if you're selling low ticket, this might be $10, $15, right? Remember, my ads account won't spend. If your ads account spends, right, it's important for you to utilize every single dollar that spends. Make sure you give that money to only the listings that are making you the most money. Because this account doesn't spend a lot of money, I don't care if it starts going to listings that maybe have bad ROAS but are still break even or profitable, because my budget's not spending the $1,000 anyway, right? Now, again, when I start getting more products or different types of products and actually start spending more on different products, then this will never be acceptable. Let's analyze deeper compared to top line revenue. So it's saying that I spent $37. I made no dollars for the year on this ad level. All right, so we're going to paste this into here to try to find that listing. All right, so here is the listing. So remember, the ad made me $0, but the listing itself, it's right here. It actually made $1,085 in organic sales. So it actually is making more money than you would think. So a lot of people would just look at this and automatically just turn it off because they'd be like, oh my God, I spent $37 and made nothing. But remember, it's contributing to the organic SEO of the listing as well. So on the ad level, yeah, I spent $37, but when you compare it to top line sales, wait a second, when we look at net sales here, it actually made $1,000 in net sales, right? And so if you subtract out, and it actually made $600 in profit, so minus that $40, we made almost $600 profit on this listing. So I'm definitely not turning it off. So yeah, now the exception to this is if, let's pretend that this listing was brand new. Let's say that this listing was less than 3 months old and we just launched it and it said $0, it spent $37, now it's spending kind of an uncomfortable amount, but that's $37 got me a lot of exposure. Our CTR is not horrible, it's not great, but we got, for whatever reason, Etsy's giving us a bunch of traffic for $37, right? compared to this $35, right? It's getting a really, really cheap exposure for some reason. Again, the only exception to here is time. So let's pretend that this listing was less than, say, 3 months old, and we came into ProfitTree and we saw that this $1,000 was actually only $50, right? So we spent $37 to only make $50, which after you take out fees and everything would not be profitable. So in this case, I would be on the cusp. We maybe made one sale, we're not profitable compared to top line. Would I then turn off the ad? Well, again, the variable here is time. So because the listing is young, and you can even make this more strict, say it's less than 2 months old, right? Maybe 3 months old is too much time because you want to be more strict. Maybe if it's less than 2 months old, right, then we have to investigate further. So the only thing that we can do is look for clear signs of momentum. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. So I'm going to go investigate further, and I'm going to go look at this listing, and I'm going to view it in an incognito window, and I'm going to look for something called add to cart badges. So this says that it has had 5 views in the last 24 hours. I'm going to actually go ahead and add it to cart, and it says it's in 3 carts, but I just added a cart, so it's actually only in 2 carts. So if this listing really was not making money, right? So it is making money, right? It made $1,000 in organic sales this year, but let's pretend that again, it's only 2 months old and this actually only made $50. We're not profitable, but it was really young, but it's sitting in 2 carts. Would I then turn it off? And the answer to that is still yes. So the reason why is because if it was really failing, so here's the listing again. So if this listing was gaining momentum fast, you would see a lot of add to cart. So here, so if I was looking at it in that incognito window, basically I would want to see a clear sign of momentum, like 15 to 20 add to cart badge, right? And as we saw, it only was sitting in 1 cart basically. And so if, you know, we have 0 ROAS, we're starting to spend an uncomfortable amount, it's about 2 months old, it's only in 2 carts, it's only made 1 sale, I would probably turn it off because it's spending an uncomfortable amount of time. And even though the listing is still young, there's no real clear signs of momentum, right? If it had a 20 add to cart badge, maybe then it's just, you know, we need to give it 2 more weeks to let those turn into actual sales. But because we're not seeing a bunch of momentum, the ROAS is bad, and the top line sales are bad, we're gonna go ahead and turn that off and let that money go to listings that are making you better profit or better money, right? And so you're kind of playing with all these variables at a given time, right? You're looking at the time, you're looking at the spend, you're looking at the spend compared to top line, you're allowing the break-even ROAS to get your attention, right? There's so many different variables at play here, but then also it's your strategizing for you specifically. So, right, compared for your sale prices, how fast your budget spends, all of those things. Guys, this is just a quick insight on, you know, all of the things with ads. I have a lot of more training videos like this. I really would implore you to check out ProfitTree. You know, this is very much a beta version of what is to come. So yeah, I would love for you guys to get on the wait list so you can start utilizing this for your business and being able to track your real profits. But also make sure you queue my other Etsy ads trainings and comment your questions down below if I've lost you at any point in this video, because I know that was a lot of information. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for staying to the end, and I will see you in the next video.